This image is a mess. It's a very strong daylight that I was shooting under without a fill flash to fill in some of these details here, some of these very, very dark shadows. So how do we bring those out? Well, certainly I could come in with levels, and that's what I recommend you always do. Start with the levels command. It's the easiest one to get started with of the two major powerful color correction commands. So press Command L, Control L. Go over to gamma. There's really not much I can do. You can see here with the black and white points. I could take the white point down a little bit, but that's not really the area that we're having problems with. We have some very, very bright pixels in this image. It's not the bright pixels that are a problem, it's the shadows that are a problem. So I'm going to come down here and work with the gamma value to raise it. And I have to take the gamma value pretty far before I can draw out the shadow detail. So in drawing out the shadow detail, I am also just wreaking havoc on the light portions of the image. The problem is, what I'd like is I wish I had more control than just a single gamma point. I wish I had control over the light grays and the dark grays independently of the medium grays, which means move to curves, because the curves command offers exactly that. So I'm going to cancel out of here, and I'm going to choose Image Adjust Curves. And this is the curves dialog box in all of its splendor. I would assume that this is a little more intimidating when you first look at it than even the levels dialog box. The one thing it doesn't have is the histogram. What you do have, however, and this is the most important part of the curves dialog box, is this area right here, which is the graph. These are the input levels, and these are the output levels. So the input levels, the existing levels inside the image from black to white, down at the bottom here, and the new colors that you're mapping the old colors to, over here on the left, running from black to white. Okay, so let's see how to work with curves. And I'm going to start by just clicking here. Now I'm setting a point inside the curve. If I raise that point, and notice I'm right in the dead center, right in the medium gray, okay? And this is the equivalent of gamma in the levels dialog box. If you click right in the center, this is the exact equivalent of gamma. And I'm actually raising it up. And as I raise the gamma value to something like a 1.8 inside levels, this is exactly the kind of curve you're getting. So in other words, these colors that are darker than medium gray and darker, are now going to take up this portion of the spectrum, 3/4 of the color spectrum. So going from black and then to a pretty darn light gray. So they're remapping to lighter colors. I'm going to take it to about here, because I really don't want my light colors getting any lighter than this. Then start working with darker colors, okay? So this is where this image really has problems, and it's in these darker colors, which is in this portion of the graph. So I'm going to click here in the center. Again, I'm just splitting the difference and just working away here. Drag this up, and now I'm starting to drag out some of these details in the darker area. So keep in mind when working in curves that every action has an opposite reaction. So when I drag up on this side of the curve, I'm also wiggling this side of the curve. The effect of wiggling this down, the effect of moving, sort of creating this slump going downward here, is that I'm graying out some of the colors. It may mean setting another point to anchor this, so we don't have such a problem there. We have a good slant here, we have a good slope here, and now let's start working on this some more, because I still haven't drawn out as much stuff as I want here. So I'm going to set yet another point right there. Notice this dramatic slope that I have going here from the very blackest color inside the image to a very, very dark color. These colors are really being pulled apart here. And as a result, we're getting a lot more detail inside the shadow area. And because the shadows are so dark, this image can tolerate quite a bit of stretching right at that point. And I think I might want to put that about there just to give it a nice, even, smooth curve between one point and the next inside this graph. And there we have it. I think this is actually pretty darn good. We've brought out the detail very, very nicely, but we've lost a lot of the color saturation inside this image. So how do we bring back color saturation? Well, the easiest way is press Command or Control U for hue saturation. advance the saturation option, shift up arrow a couple, 3 times to get it to a better saturation level. Let's take a look at it. Very nice. I like it much better. Maybe I'd like to adjust those hues a little bit. So I'll just shift tab to that, tweak the hues this way. Good enough. Cool. So we're done. So this is the difference. I'm going to click on the version that I originally opened. After view, big, huge, stinking difference in this image.